which can lead to highly visible, and sometimes unavoidable, disagreements when coaches insist on a different approach. During one particularly intense practice, that philosophical divide reportedly reached a boiling point. White was demanding strict execution, while Clark appeared determined to trust her instincts and make the reads she believed would create the best scoring opportunities. What began as a heated exchange quickly escalated into a confrontation that instantly grabbed the attention of everyone in the gym. Players stopped what they were doing. Assistant coaches exchanged nervous glances. The energy inside the building shifted almost immediately. This wasn't the typical back and forth that takes place during a competitive practice. The tension had been building for weeks, and now it was finally spilling into the open for everyone to see. The shocking part wasn't that two fiercely competitive basketball minds disagreed. Great players and demanding coaches clash all the time. The shocking part was the intensity of the moment, and the questions it suddenly raised about the future direction of the franchise. Had the Fever found the perfect coach to push their superstar to another level, or had they created a situation that threatened to undermine the chemistry they were desperately trying to build? Was reportedly alerted to the situation through multiple sources with direct knowledge of the incident. And once the story reached his desk, there was absolutely no chance he was going to ignore it. Smith understands something that many people inside the sports world still fail to grasp. Caitlin Clark is no longer just a basketball player. She is a cultural phenomenon, a ratings magnet, and arguably the single most important figure in the growth of women's professional basketball. When whispers of the confrontation began circulating behind the scenes, Smith immediately recognized that this wasn't simply another practice disagreement between a coach and a star player. This was a defining moment that revealed exactly how the Fever intended to build their future. On his show, he spoke passionately about the intense pressure surrounding Clark and the impossible expectations that seemed to follow her every move. He made it crystal clear that greatness has never been comfortable. Throughout sports history, the most dominant athletes often experience their biggest breakthroughs after moments of extreme adversity, intense criticism, and uncomfortable confrontations. According to Smith, what happened inside that practice facility wasn't necessarily evidence of a fractured relationship. It may have been proof that both sides were equally committed to pursuing excellence at any cost. The comments immediately ignited a firestorm across social media. Fans rushed to take sides. Some believed White had crossed an unacceptable line by making physical contact with her superstar player. Others argued that Clark's fierce response demonstrated exactly why she possesses the mentality required to become one of the greatest players of her generation. Meanwhile, inside the Fever organization, the focus remained on basketball. Practices continued. Preparations intensified. And those who witnessed the confrontation firsthand couldn't stop talking about the transformation they had seen afterward. They described a player who seemed sharper, more focused, and more determined than ever before. Every drill was attacked with relentless intensity. Every possession carried an unmistakable edge. The most fascinating part of the entire story was that neither Clark nor White appeared interested in publicly addressing the incident. There were no dramatic interviews. No emotional press conferences. No carefully crafted statements designed to calm the public. Instead, both women returned to work and allowed their actions to speak louder than any headline ever could. And perhaps that silence revealed the truth more than any leaked report ever could. Because sometimes the strongest relationships in sports are forged through conflict. Sometimes greatness requires uncomfortable moments. And sometimes a franchise discovers its true identity only after surviving a storm powerful enough to test everyone involved. If the reports are accurate, then that unforgettable practice may eventually be remembered as the exact moment the Indiana Fever stopped being a team built around potential and started becoming a team built around purpose. Whether that purpose ultimately leads to a championship remains to be seen. But one thing is absolutely certain. The rest of the basketball world is watching very closely, and every single move Caitlin Clark makes from this point forward will be analyzed, debated, and magnified under the brightest spotlight imaginable. Pouring every available ounce of energy into film study, practice preparation, and an obsessive pursuit of perfection. Teammates reportedly noticed the change almost immediately. conversations became shorter. Jokes became less frequent. The easygoing atmosphere that had once surrounded portions of the locker room was gradually replaced by an intense, championship or bust mentality that demanded absolute accountability from everyone involved. Every practice suddenly felt different. Every drill carried more urgency. Every mistake was scrutinized under a microscope. Players who had previously coasted through certain portions of training camp now found themselves operating under a level of pressure they had never experienced before. Clark wasn't just demanding excellence from herself anymore. She was demanding it from everyone around her. The coaching staff quickly recognized that something fundamental had shifted. The emotional confrontation that many feared would divide the organization appeared to be creating a completely different outcome. Instead of breaking the team's competitive spirit, it seemed to be concentrating it into something far more dangerous. Something far more focused. Something far more difficult for the rest of the league to stop. Meanwhile, opposing teams began hearing whispers about the dramatic transformation taking place behind closed doors. Scouts, executives, and rival coaches exchanged increasingly concerned messages as reports continued to emerge describing a fever squad operating with a newfound edge and intensity. The stories sounded almost unbelievable. Practice sessions were reportedly becoming more competitive than some regular season games. Every possession was contested. Every rebound was fought for. Every defensive lapse was immediately addressed. As the regular season approached, anticipation reached a fever pitch. Fans packed arenas. Television ratings surged. Social media exploded with endless speculation about whether the reported confrontation had ultimately strengthened or damaged the relationship between Clark and White. Neither side offered much public insight. They simply continued working. That silence only fueled the mystery. Because while the public debated rumors, theories, and leaked accounts, the people closest to the situation appeared completely locked in on a singular objective. Winning. Not winning headlines. Not winning social media arguments. Winning basketball games. And that is what made the entire story so fascinating. The physical confrontation may have captured the attention of the sports world. Stephen A. Smith's explosive comments may have amplified the controversy to unprecedented levels. The endless media coverage may have transformed a private practice incident into a national conversation. But beneath all the noise, one question continued to dominate every discussion surrounding the Indiana Fever. What happens when a generational talent embraces the pressure instead of running from it? Because if the reports coming out of Indiana were even remotely accurate, the answer could be something that the rest of the WNBA is not prepared to handle. A more focused Caitlin Clark. A more aggressive Caitlin Clark. A more relentless Caitlin Clark. And according to those who witnessed the transformation firsthand, that version of Clark may be the most dangerous player professional basketball has seen in a very long time. Openly questioning the overwhelming amount of attention, media coverage, and commercial influence that seems to follow Clark everywhere she goes. Now, those same players are being forced to confront a potentially far more intimidating reality. The smiling, highly marketable superstar they spent months criticizing may be rapidly transforming into something entirely different. According to increasingly persistent whispers circulating throughout league circles, several opposing coaching staffs have already begun quietly adjusting their defensive game plans specifically to account for Clark's newly intensified approach. It is no longer just about stopping her deep three-point shooting or preventing her from orchestrating the offense. The concern now centers around containing the relentless competitive fire that appears to be fueling every single possession she plays. Scouts have reportedly noted a dramatic shift in her overall demeanor. The body language is different. The intensity is different. Even the way she carries herself before games has become noticeably more serious. There are fewer smiles. Fewer casual interactions. Fewer moments of visible relaxation. Everything appears laser-focused on a singular objective. Winning. That transformation has created an atmosphere of uncertainty throughout the entire league. Rival players don't know whether they are preparing to face the same Caitlin Clark who entered the professional ranks surrounded by unprecedented hype, or a completely evolved version forged through conflict, criticism, and relentless pressure. Inside Indiana, the organization continues attempting to maintain a united public front despite the endless speculation swirling around the team. Coaches insist the culture is strong. Players repeatedly emphasize their commitment to one another. Executives publicly downplay any suggestion of internal dysfunction. Yet the rumors simply refuse to disappear. And the reason they refuse to disappear is because people cannot stop talking about what allegedly happened inside that practice facility. One moment. One confrontation. One decision by a head coach to challenge the most recognizable player in women's basketball. Whether viewed as reckless, calculated, inspirational, or completely unnecessary, that single interaction has become the center of a growing legend that continues expanding with every passing week. Each retelling seems bigger than the last. Each new report adds another layer of intrigue. Each public appearance by Clark or White generates fresh questions that neither side appears interested in answering. Perhaps that is exactly why the story continues to captivate so many people. Because nobody truly knows where it ends. Maybe the confrontation becomes the defining turning point that launches the Indiana Fever toward championship contention and transforms Clark into an even greater superstar. Maybe the pressure eventually becomes too intense and exposes deeper fractures beneath the surface. Or maybe the truth lies somewhere in between, hidden behind closed doors where only a select few know exactly what happened. What is certain, however, is that the basketball world is watching more closely than ever before. Every game, every possession, every interaction, every glance between player and coach. Because if the rumors are even partially accurate, the events that unfolded during that unforgettable practice may have set into motion consequences that will continue shaping the future of the franchise, and perhaps the entire league, for years to come.